Don't just exist, live.
I love that. Don't just exist, live. What
Live.
does that mean to you?
Take advantage of every day that we have.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the We're Not Stumped podcast. I'm your host, Mike Bolland. And today, man, I have somebody on the podcast. I met her at Empower Fest, which was a fantastic event here in Phoenix, Arizona, local to me. So it was easy for me to get here. Took her a little longer because she's out of Dallas area and certainly with the Dallas Amputee Network. And that is Neomi Flores. And Neomi, you are such a fun person to hang out with. I met her the first day of the event. We were able to, have some fun with others. Like Stevia Walker was there, one of my former guests, and we just had a blast. And I asked her to be on the podcast. She was kind enough to be on. So Neomi, thank you so much for being on the We're Not Stumped podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And we always start the podcast with a segment I call In Your Own Words. So I'd love the audience to learn more about you.
Okay. Well, I am 45 years old, and I have 3 girls, and became an amputee when I was 42. Actually, on my 43rd birthday. And I
Wow.
just turned 43. My birthday's on October 28th, and my leg was taken on October the 31st on Halloween. Yeah, I still get the phantom pains.
Happy Halloween, right?
Yeah.
And I know yours was a blood clot. Can you kind of explain that process and what you went through?
Yeah. For a while there, my leg, well, actually, just my foot was looking swollen and red. And at that time, I was getting ready to have a back infusion done. I was supposed to have surgery for, I have 2 herniated discs on my back. So we were getting ready for that. And as we're getting ready for that, my foot starts getting red. And I started going, I went back to the doctor to see what was going on, why my foot was looking red, and it was starting to throb. So the doctor said that, oh, it's your back. It's your herniated disc are actually messing up with your nerves and all these things. And I was like, okay. So they sent me to other doctors to get tested. So I'm like, no, this is something just told me this is not back related. So I went to several doctors and they kept bouncing me back and forth. No, it's your back. No, it's nothing major. Blah, blah. It was like that for like 3 months, bouncing back and forth with doctors until finally is you're gonna think this is crazy. But one day I was asleep and something just screamed at me and said, "Go see Doctor Wade." And I just thought it was weird because I'm like, what? Where was that voice coming from? Like, why Doctor Wade? And I was like, he's a podiatrist. So I was like, hmm. So I dismissed it. So days later, I hear that voice again telling me, Doctor Wade, you need to go see Doctor Wade. And I'm like, okay, like that time was louder. So I was like, okay, I'm going to call and make an appointment. And I was really lucky because I had an appointment available that same day. So I went to him and I said, hey, I said, could you help me figure out what's going on with my foot? As soon as he saw my foot, he goes, how long have you been like this? And I told him, he goes, you know what? He goes, I'm not even going to waste your time. Get out of here. Go see a cardiovascular doctor. He says, you need to go now. So
Wow.
he gives me a card. No, he gives me not a card, a number. And he says, call this number. But this is where they're at. Go now. I will call him personally and tell him you're going over there right now. So I'm like panicking, like, he goes, Naomi, he goes, that looks like a blood clot. And I was like, kind of clueless, like, what is that supposed to mean? What is a blood
Yeah.
clot? I mean, I know what a blood clot is, but what does that mean? Is it serious? But by the way he was talking to me and how fast he rushed me out of his office was like, this has to be something bad. So I go to the cardiovascular, I get in there, and as soon as he walks in, he goes, oh, he starts telling the nurses, hey, go get a Doppler machine. I guess you call those Doppler.
Hmm.
It's an equipment where they put it on your leg, and it's kind of like the one that they put on your heart
Okay.
to hear your heartbeat, but this is for your legs and stuff like that. So anyway, oh, it sounds like a sonogram machine when they're looking for a baby's heartbeat.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And that's exactly kind of what it is. So they go bring it and they start putting it on my leg, and they go down to where the foot is at, and you hardly hear any heartbeat there. It's faintly, and so the doctor's like, okay, we're gonna put you on blood thinners. You gotta take these blood thinners. Please take them. We're gonna keep monitoring you. We need to put a stent in. So I went back. I think a day. I think it was the next day. I went back and they put a stent in, and it looked like it was working just fine when it stopped working on me. The blood clot. I went back and the doctor told me that the blood clot had swallowed that stent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so when I was there, the doctor's like, I don't know what else to do. He says, I don't know what else to do. He says, we're just gonna keep keep monitoring you to see if maybe the blood thinners can dissolve that blood clot, and everything's okay. And that was like that for a few days. And then finally, when I went back to see him, he said, I need you to go to the hospital. He says, I'm gonna call the hospital and they're gonna be waiting on you. He says, but I need you to go as soon as possible. I said, okay. I said, let me go home and go get some stuff because knowing how I am and how people can pack for me, that was not gonna go well with me. I had to go home and do my own packing if in case I was to stay there for a few days, which I did anticipate being there for maybe a day or two. So, I packed up my stuff and I had my bag ready. And when I was at home packing, I remember having a pain so strong that I couldn't walk no more. I mean, it was such a pain that it was worse than having a baby.
Wow.
It was so painful I couldn't walk no more. And it was a pain that I cannot describe to you other than if you've ever had a toothache on a toothache, just imagine that on your leg. And that's how much throbbing there was and how much, oh, it was just horrible, horrible to the point where it made me not be able to walk anymore. And I remember we had just, check this out, we had just had a flood. Me and my daughter were relocated. We were staying at a hotel because we had just been through a flood and we had been evacuated. So at that time, I still had my house with my ex husband. Well, I went and stayed on my half of the house.
What was the process? How quickly of a decision was it to remove part of your leg?
Oh, once that happened, things really moved fast. It
And
really
let me
did.
ask you this too: was that part of your decision, or was it like, hey, we have no choice here?
He gave me a choice. He gave me a choice, and my choice immediately was let me go.
Let me go.
Hmm. Let me go. And
So,
he went like, what? And I said, yeah. I didn't even stutter. I didn't even flinch. I said, let me go. And he was like, no, I can't take that as an answer. And I looked at him and I said, yes, you can. He says, Naomi, he says, you're still young and you could still have a normal life with a prosthetic. There is so much out there. You can do this. You're a very strong woman. And at that moment, it's like, la, 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 la. Like,
yeah.
it was like, I don't care how strong I am. I don't care what you think right now of me. You know, I don't want to live like that. I don't want to be nobody's burden. I don't want to be struggling to the point where I'm not going to have a quality of life anymore. And I had just gotten divorced 1 year before. So my thought also ran to nobody's going to ever love me again with a leg missing. It was like I went to this dark zone where I just felt like I'm no good anymore. Why even live?
Wow.
And he just looked at me. He says, I can't take that for an answer. You will sleep on it. I'll be back in the morning. And I just looked at him and I said, I'm not going to change my mind. And then he goes, I'll be back in the morning. So he walks out. I remember the remaining of the night, of the evening. I remember it was crazy because all I could think about was tomorrow at this time I'll be gone.
Oh.
And
Hmm.
my mind just went to I'm wondering who's gonna be at my funeral. Um, how how are my girls gonna take this? And as I'm thinking through all that, I'm also debating on that is the best decision because I can't live like this. I've always been very independent, and to think about being somebody's burden and not having the quality of life, and just the thought of not ever being loved again by someone else because they're gonna see that I'm missing a leg and automatically discard me. That was something that was really heavy on me, you know?
Yeah, I get it. And I'm certainly glad that you made a different decision. And I'm going to cut to the chase, but I want to go in chronological order. Certainly, obviously you're still around and you have the most infectious laugh and one of the funnest people to hang around with. So you definitely have come a long way from thinking that to where you're at now. And we're going to get to how you were able to get to that spot. But let's go to the next day when the doctor comes in. And what was your thought process to get to where you needed to be to make the decision you made?
If you're a God believer, you're gonna understand what I mean, what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
When I was debating whether, like, I'm still having little thoughts, God put my girls' faces in my head very, very strong. And I remember looking up, going, You're good. Oh my God, you're good. Oh, you know? And I just said, God, I'm so scared. God, I am petrified. Please help me. If this is what you want me to do, is continue to live, I need your help. I need you to help me because I'm scared. I am so scared. And I remember a little voice saying, Haven't I pulled you out of many situations that you could have been gone from? And I remember when I was, younger, that I went through a traumatic experience where they killed my boyfriend and then they chased me.
Oh,
And that came to my mind. I said, He did. He pulled me through that. So I'm going to trust him. I'm going to trust you, God. Yes, I'm going to trust you. I'm scared, but I'm going to trust you.
and again, I'm going to cut through the chase a little bit but we're going to get to this. You said something to me at Empower Fest about how you feel you have you have purpose again. So not only have you gone through all this, and we'll go through what you went through, but how did you say that? You felt your life has meaning again because of this? I don't want to mince your words. I want to make sure you say them.
I feel like I am more alive now than I was before. I feel like I was just existing before, and I feel like I'm living now.
Thank you for sharing that because there's people that are could be laying in the bed themselves right now, stumbling across your words on this podcast, and I want them to understand that how important what you went through, and thank you for sharing that you're able to get to the other side, and you are just well, I'll say it. You're kicking ass and taking names. I don't mind. It's my podcast. I'm allowed to say that, right? So you're doing great things. But in
Yes.
sticking with the chronological order, so now you have made the decision. Your children, your God, everything. You're going to go through this. What was next for you mentally and physically, being in that bed?
I was scared to look at my leg. I think I would keep it covered. I remember, and it was like mentally I was like I wish I could just wake up. This is just could be a nightmare, and I'm gonna wake up any minute. And I feel like I was not really in my body for some reason. It was what's weird. It was like a surreal feeling. You know, I kept questioning: Is this really happening? This can't be happening. Like I'm gonna wake up and this gonna be a nightmare.
Yeah.
I've had many nightmares where I'm dreaming that I have lost my teeth and I do this and then I wake up and I go, whew. And I thought I was gonna do the same thing with my leg. I'll be like, whew, it was just a dream. But no, it was reality. And when the doctor came in to clean it out for the first time, I was just like, I don't wanna look at it. I don't wanna see it. I just like do what you gotta do and whatever. And then days went by and he came back and he said, hey, I'm gonna leave it open today. That's when my anxiety just went crazy. And when he says, I'm gonna leave it open, look, I want you to look at this. And I'm like, no, I don't wanna look at it. And then he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna leave it open to air out, whatever. And then I was like, no, 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 no. I said, no, you're not. No, close it. I don't wanna look at it. And he was like, okay, okay, I'll cover it. So he covered it. And I didn't see it until I almost left the hospital that he opened it up and when I saw it, I lost it. I lost it. I lost it. I cried. I couldn't breathe. And he was like, Naomi, 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 look at me. Stop, stop. You were doing just fine. Don't do this. Don't. Stop. Breathe. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. And the doctor kept telling me, God gave this to somebody. He gave it to the right person because you are a strong woman. And I remember his word. Now I appreciate what he did, but at that moment it was like, shut the hell up. I don't care how strong I am. It's not my fault that the next person is a wimpy ass and I gotta take it because I can take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but yeah, I lost it when I saw it for the first time.
And the next phase of the journey, I know there's going to be recovery as well. So I don't mean to minimize that and how you're able to heal and things like that. But then you start thinking about a prosthetic, and I don't know, did you have any experience with prosthetics before your own?
No,
So
I
you
did.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I
No.
did not have any experience with anything. And the saddest thing of all is that I didn't have anybody to come into my room to talk to me or to kind of guide me or to tell me, hey, you're gonna be fine. Look, I'm walking or any kind of inspiration. I had to deal with it by myself. And that is why I made it my mission to, if I can help someone, I'm gonna help them. But yeah, I didn't have nobody to come even to tell me how a prosthetic would look or feel or nothing, nothing.
Yeah, and I know that your story on this podcast is going to help others. There's no question about it. But I also know that you aspire to have your own podcast, and of course, I'm happy to lend a hand. Of course, just one in my case, but happy
I'll
to.
take the only hand you have left, but I'll take.
Well, I do this all single-handedly, so it's all good. Now, since you didn't
Please.
know anything about prosthetics, how was that journey for you? Did you think it was going to be, well, gosh, I'll get one over the weekend and by Monday I'll be walking? Or did you know it was going to be a longer process? And explain that journey for our listeners.
Chair. I was on a wheelchair for a year. I went to rehab and I forgot I have a leg because you feel like your foot's still there, whatever. And I got up to go use the restroom because they were taking too long to come get me. So I was like, I'll just get up and do it myself. So when I got up, I kid you not, it was like a slow motion feeling, and I feel like I was going timber. So I mean, that was my biggest my setback, because it was already healing, but when I fell, everything messed up on me to where I had to be put on the wound vac for 4 months
Oh,
because it wouldn't heal because of how damaged it was. And then I was put on the wound vac for 4 months, and then I was in a wheelchair for a whole year. And then once I went to the prosthetics to go get um casted for for the first one, um I thought, okay, it'll be done by because it was supposed to be done by before Thanksgiving. And I said, okay, I'm gonna be walking for Thanksgiving, you know? Oh, okay. Never did I imagine that it was gonna be a process to get back up and walk. My mind and my leg did not connect. It just did not connect. And I remember getting the leg and thinking, okay, I'm gonna get up and walk. I kept doing this. Like I wanted to, but my body wouldn't move with me. And I was like, that was the most frustrating thing ever. Frustrating. And I remember the doctor telling me, don't think that you're gonna get up and walk. Some do, not all. He said you're gonna have to start, like with babies. They start crawling, they start getting up, and they start, holding on to furniture, and they're walking, and then before you know it, they'll take off. That's exactly how it happened. Exactly. One day I was on my walker, and I remember I was getting ready, and I was supposed, I was gonna change clothes, and for some reason I forgot all about the walk, and I just got up and walked, and I was like,
Wow.
"Did I just walk?" And I was by my
Wow.
at home at that moment. It was New Year's Eve of 2023, New Year's Eve, and I remember I cried by myself. I was like, God, I was like, thank you. I'm able to walk again because I was starting to feel worried about maybe I won't be able to walk anymore, you know? But it was out of nowhere where my brain and my body connected and I just went like a baby.
Wow.
I just
Well,
didn't have
that's
I just didn't have a mom to go, come here, come here.
well, I know that as you explained it, I think that's very important for people that are listening. It's a process. And like you said, as the doctor, I believe, told you, some people may jump up, but it's probably not the norm. It's probably the exception, not the rule. So I think it's important for people to know and
Hmm.
not only, hey, not only are you walking fantastic now, as a matter of fact, I think in Power Fest you may have danced a little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we won't admit it, right? We won't say that.
No,
So
we won't.
as you move forward, you were telling me a story about your mom coming over and making you breakfast, and you're like, and she wanted to make you the breakfast, but you're like, no, I got this. Can you explain your mindset for that particular morning? Because it seemed to have really kind of etched a memory for you.
Yeah, well, I've always been a very independent person. So when my mom came over and said, let me make breakfast, I was like, no. I took advantage that she was there, that she could watch me if anything happened, that someone was there with me, at the moment. And I told her, I said, no. I said, let me do it. And she says, are you sure? And I said, I got it. And I even asked her, how would you like your eggs? And she told me how she wanted them. And I was like, okay. And I remember I was still on the wheelchair, when this happened. And I would cook, sit down, take a little break, get back up, and then sit down and then get back up. And that was my routine every day, up and down, up and down, up and down until, I was able to let go of the wheelchair, and then it would be the walker, and then eventually I'm walking by myself. Many times I've been asked, how long did you use your cane or your walker? As soon as I took off, I put those in the garage and they're collecting dust. I have not used the wheelchair since the day I started walking. No, no, no. And a lot of times when I have gone to um, physical therapy, they were like, and they still do. They'll be like, "You don't need this," and I'm like, "I do because even though I make it look like I don't need it, I know my strength and I know I can get better. I can still get better than what I am." A lot of people can't believe that I've been walking on my prosthetic going on barely 2 years. And the way I walk, to me, I feel like I walk off. I feel like I walk like a robot, but that's me because the leg is on me, and it's my body moving. But people look at me and they're like, "I would have never known that you have a prosthetic leg on." And I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, and I think you can see it a mile away. But they're like, "No, you walk pretty well."
Well, I'm with them because when I saw you at Empower Fest, I didn't notice. So you do a great job. As you explained your story, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but as I listen to it, you seem to be having a lot of little victories. So as you thinking that other people are listening to this podcast that are going through, they could be in various stages of their own journey. How important is it to have those little victories to make sure that you're going down the right path?
It's refreshing. It's a reminder that you are strong. You're stronger than what you think you are. You really are. You know, I've heard so many people say, "Oh, I could not have done what you've done." Oh God, no, that couldn't be me. But you know what? You just don't know how strong you are till you're in that situation. You know, so I just feel like we are our worst critics,
Yeah.
and we doubt ourselves more than anybody will. And if you listen to that little voice telling you can't do it, then you're not going to be able to do it. You have to shut that voice up and say, no, yes, I can. And I've always been a very stubborn person. So I've always said, you say no, and I'll be like, yes. You'll be like, no, and I'll be like, yes. So the doctors will tell me, you won't be able to do this or you won't be able to do that. And I'm like, yes, I can. Yes, I will. You know? So that has been to my advantage to be able to be that stubborn.
I like that. And we were talking a lot about the physical part, whether it be through the prosthetic or the actual losing of the leg. But we have also, you and I have at least talked about some of the mental aspects of overcoming this, which may or may not be, depending on who you talk to, some of the most important parts of getting over losing a limb. What was that like for you? You talked about, hey, will anyone ever love me? And now, at where you're at now, you feel like you're, as you said, probably more free now than you've ever been. What was it like, that process to get to where you're at now? And none of us are there. You know, none of us have arrived. I always like to say that. But you're certainly at a better place than where you were before. What was it like to get to where you're at now? And what are you doing to continue your positive attitude?
I've always been a very positive person as it is. And I've always said that what doesn't kill me shall make me stronger. And I've always said that it is what it is. My leg is not going to grow back if I get into a nasty attitude, to a bad mental state, or if I just want to give up. None of that's going to bring back my leg.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like I want to go with it and make the best of it, because I am not good at being in my bed crying and dwelling over stuff like this. God gave me another chance to live. Many didn't have that chance. Many have gone for the most weirdest situations or little things that you're like, what? They passed because of what? So to me, it's a blessing to be here. And I'm going to take advantage of every day that I have. You know, there's days that I don't feel good. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that, oh, everything's, nice and dandy and I'm go lucky every day. No, there's days that I'm like, I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to see people. I'm just in my little zone, where I'm dealing with things. And um so it's like I allow myself to feel. I allow myself to go through the process, but once I'm done with that, I get back up. I'm not gonna stay there. You know, what I can change, I'll change it, and what I can't, I have got to let it go. And that goes with friendships, family members, or situations itself. I have to let it go. I cannot waste my time. My time now, to me, is more precious. What I don't want to waste no more time, because I don't know how much time I have with all of this going on. God already showed me that I could have been gone in a split of a second, but He gave me another chance, so I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna run with it.
I love that attitude. And there's one other thing I love. You have a tattoo on your left arm. I'd love show the camera if you don't mind. And for those who are just listening, what does it say?
Uh, Let me tell you exactly how it says. Don't just exist, live,
I love that. Don't just exist, live. What does
live.
that mean to you?
take advantage of every day that we have. And sometimes I don't feel good, and I'm not in a good, in a good. I guess you could say I'm just not having a good day for whatever reason, but I still show up.
You know, as I've talked to people, this is, I think we went over it. This is like the 171st episode that I've done. And what I've learned from so many great people like you, and even my own personal experiences, at the end of the day, we're all human and we are going to go through our ups and downs, and it's
Mhm.
natural. So if there's people listening and they feel like they're in a rut that they feel they can't get out of, listen to Naomi. She's out of it. She's living. So if what is the one thing maybe you didn't know about being an amputee that now you do know from your own situation?
This is gonna sound crazy to you, but I did not lose a leg. The leg lost me.
Ooh. And what does that mean?
I do not feel any less of a woman. I don't feel any less of a person.
Great.
I don't feel any less than what I did before. If anything, I believe my self esteem has gone up, not higher now. I have learned that not everything is physical. Um, there is so much more to a person. It's their heart, their feelings, who you are, um, who you are when people are not watching. And I feel very happy with the person that I have became. I have always been, like I said, Naomi, and I've always been a very positive person, and I've always been one to give many chances to people. I'm like, oh, they didn't mean that. I'm gonna give them another chance. But this Naomi that has came out since my amputation is a Naomi that I can actually look in the and say, I am so proud of you. Like I really am.
That
I am.
is so well said. Uh, Those are words to live by for anyone, whether you have an amputation or not. You got to believe in yourself, and I know you believe in you, and I believe in you, and I can't wait for you to have your own podcast. We'll talk about that offline because hey, I'm juggling too much, and I have one hand, so I can't be juggling. Yeah, and by the way, I hope everyone listened to that laugh. That is the best laugh of any laugh I've ever heard. You were so great to meet over the weekend in Empower Fest. The Empower Fest was just fantastic. I met a lot of people that, like you, that just made me a better person. I can't thank you enough for
Thank
being
you.
on the We're Not Stumped podcast, and I would love to have you on again.
Hey, whenever you want to. We could even do this in Spanish. Remember?
I think that's a powerful idea. I think that needs to happen. And I know someone who has the determination to make that happen. Thank you so much, Naomi. Well, here we are at the end of another great podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I bet you're wondering, gosh, I'd like to be on that podcast. I wonder if Mike would like to have me on. Well, why don't you go to we'renotstumped.com, go to guest inquiries, and you'll find out everything you need to know about being a guest on this podcast. I would love to have you on. And by the way, if you made it this far, if you went down this far to this point of the We're Not Stumped podcast, do me a favor. Like, share, and subscribe. Especially share it. Come on, you got friends. You got at least one friend. You have as many friends as I have hands, so you have one friend. Please share this podcast. Thank you.